Welcome to Mr. Nelson's YouTube video. That's right, Mr. Nelson's made it to YouTube. Here we go. We're going to look at transformations. The two we're going to look at are what we learned in class in translations. And the one that is new tonight is called a reflection. Okay, we did translations in class today. All right, so let's take a look. First, we have this translation review. I've got point A, B, and C, and I want to translate it 3 units to the left and 4 units up. If I am looking at a graph, you can do it with a graph, or I showed you in class. To the left means minus or negative, and up means plus or positive. So left deals with my left and right is a horizontal shift, so we have to look at X. Okay? And up and down is a vertical shift, so that's my Y. Okay? So I've got to change my X by subtracting 3 units and my Y by adding 4 units. So I look up here, I subtract 3 units from each X, and I add 4 units to each Y. Okay? Oops. So if I look here, I subtract 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And 3 minus 3 is 0 and 0. So my new points have X values of negative 2, 0, and 0. And then I add 4. 2 and 4 is 6. And 1 and 4 is 5. And 4 and 4 is 8. Okay? So I've got A prime, or my new A, my new B, or B prime, and my new C. C prime. Remember that prime is just like a letter, so X, and then like a little tilde or comma. Okay? So here's what you have to do in your notebook on a separate sheet of paper. I want you to translate these 3. I showed you how to do it. Remember, you look at the up and the right and how much it is, and decide if it goes with your X or your Y. If you're going up and down, it is your, and if you're going left to right, it is your. Okay, rewind it to watch it if you need to. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to take notes on reflection. So we're going to look at this. Here I've got my Y and I've got my X axis. If I'm doing a reflection across my X axis, I'm looking at this axis right here, and I'm reflecting my point across. So wherever it's at, it has to be at the same exact point on the other side. So what I would do is I would count how far it is to the x-axis, and then from there I would count the same distance from the x-axis to find out where my new point would be if it is just a reflection. Okay, so that's across my x-axis, and then across my y-axis I'd do the same thing. It says reflected across the y-axis, so I look at my y-axis and I'm going to count to where I'm at my y-axis, and I'm going to take that same distance and I'm going to count away from it this way to find my new point of A prime. Okay, so A to A prime. Okay. So that's across the x-axis and across the y-axis. Okay, so here's the reflection. I'm going to reflect it across the y-axis. So I'm going to look at my point. I've got A is negative 3, 2. So I'm going to count. Well, there's 1, 2, and 3 to get to my y-axis because I'm reflecting across the y-axis. So I have to count 3 this way. 1, 2, and 3. Oops, I'm a little bit off, sorry. The new point should have been right here. Okay? So my new point is A prime, right? And my new coordinate is, well, that's positive 1, 2, and 3. And then I didn't change how far up I was, so it's 3, 2. Okay? 3, 2. Alright, so now it's your turn. I've got this point at 5, 4, and I'm asking you to reflect it across the x-axis. Well, what axis is this? What axis is this? And what axis is this? Right? First find that, and remember you're doing the x-axis, so which one is your x-axis, and reflect it across. Make sure you count, or whichever way you're going, okay? Count how many times to that axis, and then count it one more time past that axis, okay? And that is how you do a reflection. Shout out to Sierra, came after school and helped me out with some things. Thank you very much, Sierra, for doing that for me. Also, I would like to shout out to, and the final shout out will go to Amani from 7th and 8th period. She was so working hard today, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Amani.